Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. This is episode 29, Twilight of the Republic pre-release weekend. Super excited for set 3 that is upon us in the very near future. We have an amazing show planned for you tonight. We're so excited about pre-release weekend. We decided that we were going to deep dive into some of the final cards that got revealed. We're going to deep dive into what cards we feel are good for sealed, because that's what you're going to be playing for 3 days. And we're also going to be talking about our way too early tier ranking for set 3 leaders. We're also going to touch real quickly on the PQs. Not quite a bit about them since PQ season's pretty much done, but thought we would touch a little bit on PQs, what the results were, and did anybody get to unseat Boba? Joining me tonight on the mic is my good friend Alex. How are you tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. A little bit sad that Store Showdowns come to an end, but, I'll take it. I brought a different deck to every single one of them. 1, 2. So, yeah. I went to, I believe, 6. So
That's a lot better than me. I went to 1, and then I went to a PQ. So there's that.
Yeah, I would have loved to have gone to the PQ, but unfortunately I didn't get tickets in time because they were sold out in a couple hours, if that.
So hopefully this year or this next season we won't have a lot of that. Hopefully we'll get more. It'll be super fun. Quick announcement: they officially have announced Worlds, or whatever they're going to call it. I don't know what they call it. Galactic Championship. That's what they call it. July 25th, and it's in Las Vegas.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you're looking to go, now you know the weekend. It's the weekend before Gen Con too, by the way. So I was going to go to Gen Con this year because my wife's birthday doesn't land on Gen Con weekend for once. And I was going to actually go to Gen Con, but no, I probably will not be going to Gen Con because I'd rather go to, I don't know. Can we just call it Worlds? Are we just allowed to call it that?
That's what I'm going to call it.
Like, this feels a lot easier. So super excited about that. If you hadn't seen the announcement from FFG, they announced it. We're very happy to be able to share that with everybody. I'm very excited to be able to go, and hopefully I'll see a lot of you there. We'll have to talk about if you and JJ are going to go and what we're going to do. Maybe we'll get like a room for the 3 of us, and I don't know. We'll see how all of that shapes out. But that was kind of the exciting news for the week. But we're going to kick the show off tonight with our Chaos of War segment, talking about week 4, the final week of PQs before set 3. Welcome to our Chaos of War segment. Tonight we're going to be talking about week 4 PQs. Kind of excited, kind of not excited. I mean, I'm excited that like PQ season, this season is done, which means we're going to get another season coming up here shortly. I hope we get a PQ season like every set. That would be kind of cool. There is, just as an FYI, what has opened up is the fact that, because they're going to have more of them, is right now, if you would like your LFG to be able to apply, they could contact their Asmodee rep, try to get in touch with FFG, all of that fancy jazz. Now is the time to do it because they're now looking to try to decide which stores are going to hold these going forward in the future. So I don't know, anybody watching this in Michigan want to talk to Eternal and have them reach out, that would be amazing. Because it would be nice if we get one on the West and one on the East Coast. That would be even super amazing to have, and I will be very excited to be able to play those. With that being said, this week there was, I believe, 11 PQs, but we still are missing results from 3 of them because we record on Sundays, and you know how that is I wasn't going to wait around for another couple hours till the West Coast reported theirs in. So we've gone ahead and analyzed them. So there is a return of Boba, but not as bad as what you would kind of think it was. So this one, it comes out of Australia. They had almost 100 players. And if you look, yes, Boba took it down. Sabine was in second, but we had a Han 1 yellow. We had a Bosk blue show up in there. We had a Palpatine blue, which I tried to get the list. I could not find the guy. to get the listen time because I wanted to talk about Palpatine Blue. We did actual Palpatine Blue make it into the top cut, even with all of these Sabines and Bosk things and Hans running around, right? So that's pretty cool, right, Alex? I don't know. I think that sounds kind of exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably my second favorite Palpatine. No, I mean, also Palpatine Blue looks a lot better next set. There's a lot of low cost blue officials for
Yeah.
your royal guards and whatnot. So, also the one who the list who won is the red Boba Tarkentown one. I'm assuming it's like the space deck that's been going around. Several of my locals play it. Half of top 4 yesterday was that yellow Tarkentown Boba deck. And it's pretty nasty. Like it just, it's kind of like what they were doing with Tarkin, right? Yeah, the space Tarkin decks. This is the Tarkin and Tarkentown's messing me up. It's what they were doing with Tarkin Space, but they just made it Boba and then red because Ruthless Raider is really, really good.
Yeah, that's like that's a dirty surprise card because you can cheat that out, do your damage, play it the next turn. So good. Yeah. So a little exciting. So this one was taken down by a Boba, and yes, there was a Sabine, but you can see the top 8 did get a little bit more mixed up. I must have posted it twice.
Yeah. 3 different colored Bobas in the top 8 is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry. So we have a couple of decks to go through. The one of them was the Ray deck. I don't really think we have to go through the whole deck, right?
No.
Like the only really big difference here is like there's regional governors in main board now. They are focusing. They took one pillage out, and now we're seeing this Fang Fighter come in as kind of a main deck. I'm assuming probably to counter a lot of the Bobas and Sabines that want to play upgrades. But outside of that, there's not anything like super big. One Rivals Fall versus where we had been seeing 2 to 3. Still 2 takedowns, 2 fells, but nothing like super out of the ordinary for this one.
I almost brought a Red Ray to a showdown. It was between Red Ray and Green Blue Boba, the Hero Boba, which is the one I ended up going with. But it's a really solid deck. It's just versatile. It's toolboxy. You got some hand hate with Pillage and Poe and K2 and Force Throw, and you got a little bit of control with the takedowns and the Rivals Fall and Luke's. But yeah, it shows up, and it just is a really solid deck that's not terrible to pilot.
Yeah. The other one, this is one of the Boba Red decks, and again, not anything super like special in here, except for this one is only running 1 Bazine and running 2 Boba's armor, which we had not seen a lot of the Boba Reds running Boba's armor, but this is the 30 health base, right? So there was somebody, so now now people are like, well, if you could run green with 30 health bases, can I run a red with a 30 health base? Yes,
I like the Tarkentown more.
Yeah, and it also has this Xanadu Blood. So this is going for a little bit more late game versus some of that Tarkentown, which is more of like an extreme, like a bigger aggro space deck that's like going very aggressive to begin with. Kylo Silencer being a one of in here versus like the 2 mercenary gunships. I don't know if I like.
Maybe that's all they own. Like literally, there's no reason why you would play the. Okay, I guess like you can't play multiple Kylo TIE silencers. Yeah. Sure, I guess. But yeah,
I don't know.
This also has more ground units. The ones in my locals are different. They have Tarkentown, and they have like the nasty turn 1 play where they play Daring Raid or an ISB agent to just do 1 damage to whoever put their unit down, and then you Tarkentown it, and then you just try to throw the snowball from there.
Or you could Daring Raid it, and it's even better because like then you do bring 2 cards, but I'll tell you what, they don't have a turn 2 play. So yeah.
Well, you can do like what kept happening to me is they'll bring down an ISB agent or a Daring Raid, and then they Tarkentown kill my unit, then they get the Boba resource and they drop a 2-drop
Mhm.
because it only costs 1. So like it ends up working well. They don't have the cartel spacers in this one. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's got the TIE fighters in there because I don't know. I don't like the TIE fighter in this deck either personally, but it does increase your turn 1 plays, I guess. So
Yeah,
I don't
but you
know.
don't have Tarkin Town, so it's like okay.
Yep, I know. So it doesn't really do much, but I don't know. It works. And again, this one feels like it's a little bit more late game. But
Yeah.
moving on to the Phoenix, Ray Red took that one down. A little bit more Boba in this one, but also got a neat showing for a Han Green. Got a Kira in there as well. So this one, come on, computer. I don't know. All my screens are screwed up. Somehow it's pasted it twice. Anyway, so we have a Han Green that's really cool to see kind of something like that. Sabine ECL obviously still there, still Ray Tarkatown. Nothing exciting. We also this was another deck that by Gandorf. This one we went over this last week. I don't think there's any difference between last week and this week. Must be nice to be able to go to 2 PQs like weekend after each other. So
it's a cool little Garsax and yellow deck. I enjoy it.
This was the Indianapolis one. This one was very full of Ray, and has a lot of Ray. 1 Han Green, only 1 Boba Green, and then a Boba Red and a Boba Yellow, and 1 Sabine. So this one was very heavily dominated by Miss Ray there, which is nice to see a little bit of that kind of cropping up. I wanted to go over the Han list a little bit, right? Like I don't know. Have we gone over a Han Green list recently? I don't think we have.
I don't think so in set 2. No.
Yeah. So why don't you, Alex? Why don't you take it? Go through this list real quick because this one is definitely different than anything I've ever played. So.
Okay, so to start off, you have 2 Force Throw. Mind you, it is a green-yellow Han, so that's already crazy. So you got double Force Throw, double Hot Chop Blaster, 1 Confiscate, triple Spark of the Rebellion, double Spark of Hope, triple Grogu, which I guess for the Force Throws, but man, okay. Triple Echo Base Defender, triple Resupply, triple Ezra, triple Millennium Falcon, the 3-cost one. Double Waylay, triple DJ, triple Tech, triple Bright Hope, double Kira, 1 of the 6-cost Millennium Falcon, triple Luke, because you're just having all the colors in this deck. And they got triple U-Wing, presumably to play that Luke with. And then you got triple Han and double Home 1. On the side, you got a 3rd Force Throw, a 2nd Confiscate, a 3rd Waylay, double Sindari Peacekeeper, 2 Traitorous, 2 Marauders, and 1 Choose Sides. It's just a wild deck.
Yeah, this feels like a JJ deck, kind of a little bit. That's what this feels like.
I mean, if I'm going against green blue, like green Han, right? Like yellow green Han, I'm not expecting to get Force Thrown.
Nope.
Or Luked. Like that is just not on my radar.
No, and I mean, like the Casino Han was something Bobby Sapphire from KTOD, like that was something he was running and like tried to make popular for a little while. So like I've seen the Lukes in there, but you know, like that U-Ring reinforcement, you only have 1 Sentinel on each side of the fence. Seems a little like risque to me, but it obviously it worked. They made top 4 with it, so
yeah, I mean, just wild deck.
Yeah, I like the Kira ads. That's really cool. And obviously this is going for that DJ Tech combo, kind of similar to the yellow Han that we've seen become quite prominent. The next one I have on here is the PQ from Cordovia. I have no idea where that is. It's in the US, I guess, but I have no idea where that is. This had a little bit more Sabine, but we end up seeing a Sabine yellow make top, which is kind of cool. And then we see a Krennic green and a Boba blue. Boba blue has made one other one, but that Krennic green just being in there, that's like, and when we look at that list, like it's just like it's like Kira, but he used Krennic. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
So this was the Boba Blue one. I don't know if we covered a Boba Blue list either. And like what took me back a little bit is they only have 1 Avenger in this list. They have 1 in the sideboard, but they only are running one Avenger and they're only running one Super Laser Blast. And so I'll be honest, I don't understand 100% how this deck works. My assumption is you want the Bazine to rip the stuff with then using the McClunky to pick her back up to just kind of continue to rip their hand apart. But this deck doesn't have a lot of top end, like, and it's running almost no units, right? Like for the most part, like any units of consequence. So
there's a lot of ambush too. I can run through the deck if you want.
Sure, I guess let's go through the deck because I'm confused how this deck how it's gonna like how do you win all the time with this?
So you got triple Greedo, one restock, double top target, triple enticing reward, which is really neat if you're not running a lot of units. Triple McClunky, double Cartel Spacer, double No Good to Me Dead, double Pershing, triple Bazine, one Cloud Rider, double Boba's Armor, triple Power of the Dark Side, double Make an Opening, triple Vigilance, triple Takedown, double Felled Dragon, double Bosk, double Syndicate Lackeys, double Bounty Hunter's Crew to get back whatever event you need. Double Rivals Fall, double Super Laser Blast, double Snoke, and one Avenger. In the side, you got two of the Seven Fleet Defenders, double Waylay, one Frozen and Carbonite, two Vanquish, a third copy of the Bounty Hunter's Crew, a third Super Laser Blast, and a second Avenger. So yeah, I just assume it ambushes all the units that you play, and then
mills everything else.
Yeah, mills, like, you got the triple vigilance, you main deck restock, you can get more vigilance back with the bounty hunter crews that also have ambush. I think it's just try to keep the board clear, throw on some top targets, they heal, get some enticing rewards out there, just efficiency them.
Yeah, it's crazy. That this is definitely different than the one I've played against. So
yeah, I like it. It's cool.
So we move on to Paris. Paris is a little bit more stacked with Bobas. Boba makes up over 50% of this one. We did get to see a Han Green come into play, and I did pull that list because I thought this list is kind of cool. And I don't think we've gone over a Han Green ECL in a while either. I think this list is pretty neat. This is definitely a little bit different than the other list that we've seen Han Green play. So you have two heroic sacrifices, three of the OG R2D2s, three clone deserters. You got three of the Maz, only one timely, three other reckless gunslingers, three of the battlefield marines, three Sabines, two legal authority, which I think is very spicy there. Then you have your two heroic, I think they're heroic renegades, three heroic renegades, and two of the echo-based defenders, three fighters for freedom, three red threes, two wing leaders, three Cassians, three K2SOs, three of the Poes, one IG-11, I love that, one Guerrilla Attack Bot, and three Wrecker. And then your sideboard, you have one Smuggler's Aid, which I don't think I've ever seen anybody ever run that, ever. Two Fang Fighters, two Dark Sabers, one Choose Size, three Home Ones, and one Lonely Crate Dragon in that sideboard. I don't know who you're playing Legal Authority on.
I mean, Legal Authorities capture if you have a higher power. So things like Wrecker.
I guess, yeah, Wrecker or Poe. Poe would be good on Poe.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's just whatever you have higher things on. I don't see why you'd main deck it, especially when your home ones are not in main deck, which would be a great target because Legal Authority doesn't care about arenas; it just cares about your power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
It's a neat little deck.
It's definitely different. The wing leaders feels kind of spicy because you don't have a ton of rebels. You have some, but like, you don't have as many rebel units as we usually have, and especially if you're resourcing resourcing Cassians, right? Like, because you can smuggle them out, you don't always have him on the table. I don't know. I think it's cool. I like it. It's a lower curve onto ECL deck. I actually think this deck benefits from set 3 quite a bit too. More so than the blue one does. But I really like Han Green. I've been playing a little bit more Han Green lately just because I don't want to play Sabine. So I don't want to be the Sabine guy, just personally.
So really, played a fair bit of ECL Red Han. Sorry, and it's they're fun.
Yeah,
it's not the super ramp, so it's cool.
Yeah, it doesn't have the super laser text in it, baby. That's what we saw at the beginning of the first set. At the beginning of the set,
which made no sense, and
it worked.
Oddly enough, did it? Do you see it ever played?
No, because I don't. It worked for me, but I didn't take it to a show or store down. So we'll put it that way. It's not my favorite. I'm not a big aggro player. There you go. So like that's part of the problem I have with some of that. But I think, so now that we're kind of through PQ season and we don't need to spend a million hours like talking about all the decks again, but I think that when we look at some of these things, you see what's topping, right? And so now like when you're doing your catalogs and you're building your decks and you're saying, hey, is this a good deck? Is this not a good deck? You could take these older decks and you could play against them. And if you could beat them like hands down, then you at least have a little bit of somewhat of a contender. I don't feel we're going to see Boba or Sabine go away. Personally, I don't think there's going to be enough on the board to squelch them. There will be other options for people to play, so hopefully people will stop playing them as much, but I wouldn't count on it personally. I don't know. I mean, do you think there's anything that's like really like let's take Boba down a notch in set 3 that you've seen so far, Alex?
I haven't. I mean, it really depends on what like decks people are building, right? I haven't really put too much time, let alone think about the matchups in this stuff. I mean, Sabine did get a little bit of help with Jin Urso, so that's still a thing. And they're two leaders that people have a lot of experience with, so they're going to continue building decks around that and modifying it because that's what they're familiar with and that's what they put all their time and effort into. So you're still probably going to see them around. We'll see if anything crazy happens from there.
All right. So why don't we go on to our Academy training segment? Tonight for our Academy training segment, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about who we think is good for sealed, right? So this is your pre-release guide that we feel is the most beneficial currently that you can have. Not 100% like we are not the ultimate be and all, but I have played quite a bit of sealed, so is Alex, and so like I think that this is a fun event. I enjoy sealed so much. We actually just played sealed in my locals. There's only 4 of us that played, but we played sealed in the locals. It was super fun. This week I got a bunch of cards I don't need. But I mean, hey, whatever. It was fun to play.
Format, so
yeah, it was super fun. So, and it was kind of like some of the guys were like, "Hey, this is prep for next weekend." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do some sealed." So, prepare for our Academy training segment. All right. Welcome back to our Academy training segment. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Twilight of the Republic sealed. This is our analysis. I don't know if it's good. I hope it's good. And this is sure as hell do not play this card. So those are the 3 categories, baby, that we are looking at tonight. But Alex was kind enough to put some stuff together for us. And I thought it would be fun to review. We did this last set. And I think we went into a little bit more detail. So we're not going to cover every single unit that you could play, but we are going to make our guide available in the notes of the video. So if you are watching this afterwards and you're not watching it live, you're welcome to go check out the guide. I've made it public for anybody to view once the video's live. So Alex, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I was actually reviewing the one from last set, and I don't think we're terribly far off on a large majority of the things. So that's good confidence builder right there. So here's the leaders that I think would probably be good for sealed. Again, it's sealed, so not constructed. We'll get to that later. So I think Yoda is probably good. Just because drawing cards, stacking your deck. If you don't need something right now, put it on top of your deck, draw the other card below it. And I think just blue heroes is probably pretty solid in this set. There's a bunch of like cool stuff. I think Dooku's, yeah, right. I think Dooku's good too. Dooku's held back a little bit by separatist cards not being. There's not a crazy amount that like wow you, but also just cheating out stronger units is generally really good. Look what Han did last set.
Mhm.
I like Wat Tambor a lot, honestly. I think he's cool. He's kind of funky how he's like kind of aggro-y, but also kind of exploity. But just like getting a +2/+2 if someone died is just huge in limited formats. Like that
Mhm.
generally will push you over the edge. So that's why I think he's good. I think Maul will be good. Um, Half of that is just because he's a 6 attack leader. But also giving units overwhelm. You end up trading your units off and still doing damage, and that's pretty good in a game where they don't have a lot of resources to counter that. Um, and lastly, I think Ahsoka and Grievous, your starter leaders that you're always going to get in your pre-releases this set, I think are pretty solid. Mostly because putting like something in, giving it Sentinel just slows it down enough that you can, you might live a turn longer from that, or you might be able to block. Maybe they have like one unit out there, and you have a droid that's 1/1. Give it Sentinel. Now they can't attack your base. A lot of Seal is about building small advantages. And I think Ahsoka's just solid enough that if your opponent doesn't have a lot of board control, she just kind of gets out of hand. I mean, if you have 2 units on her flip turn, she comes out as a 5/6 on for 5, which is just hard to deal with. So
Yeah.
I think she's good, good enough to be like you can probably build a deck around her.
Yeah, I actually I agree, and I think some of that's because I think some of the way the set is built to help you spawn units, right? So we haven't gotten to all those cards yet, but you're able to spawn units, do different things, and I think like some of those common cards just like really hit the bank, and that's one of the things that she and Grievous really want. Um, for it, I'm excited to see Maul in there, right? Because like I was a little concerned Maul would not be good in sealed, but I actually almost think he's better in sealed than he is going to be in deck building for the pure fact that the way he works is that they're going to have such random decks. You're going to be able to walk over top of some of their decks pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And by the time you flip Maul, that you could just seal the deal with Maul. Like, yes, you don't get a lightsabers. Yes, you don't get all these other crazy things. Um, but you can build a red green deck and you can have General's Blade on Maul, and now he's like what a 9/9 or something like that. Just like and you can play something for cheap after that. Like I hope and there's no Rivals Fall in this deck in this set, right? So
And he still the leader with the strongest attack. Like that can't be understated. If he just swings in for 6, and if
yeah.
you put a Sentinel or something with like Grievous, your 1/1 droid, he just does 5 damage to your base now instead of 6.
Yep.
Right? So like he's still impactful. Um yeah, so I think those are like solid leaders. It's kind of weird because it's like you got one heroic blue, but you got like both green villain, but like a red villain and a red hero and a yellow villain. So it's like it's kind of all over the place. But
Yeah.
I think those are solid enough leaders that I would build decks around.
Yep.
The leaders that might be good, most of these are kind of dependent on your pool slash they're fine leaders upon themselves. Um, I have an asterisk next to Nalase. I usually use that to indicate that it's probably between levels. Nalase really depends on your clone pool, I guess.
Hmm.
So I think she might be good with that if you have a bunch of really cool synergies. You just have more options, and generally more options, and limited is very good. But I don't think she's great upon herself enough to be good in the probably good. I have New Gunray. The getting a bunch of units back, or getting a unit back after basically killing off 2 of them is really good. But like if you don't have a lot of exploit cards or like cards that kill your own guys in general, he doesn't really do too much because he's only a 2/6.
Yeah. He does.
But he's solid enough. Like you get a return on your exploits.
He does. And like, so yeah, he's like a conditional leader, right? He's that one that says, hey, if I get a bunch of cool stuff that fits with him, he's probably fits into that really good tier. but if you don't get anything, I won't be running him. But he is blue villain, so it does give you a little bit of an advantage, I think, in some of the card pool that we have for blue villain. But
Yeah. Up next is maybe a controversial choice. I have Obi-Wan, and he might be good. I think he might be better in limited than he is in constructed. But I think it's just the fact that he heals a unit is pretty big in limited. Just 1 damage, and then also being a sentinel, 4/7 sentinel that can kind of heal himself as well. It just performs better in the field of limited. It allows limited is about trading a lot of it. So if you trade and then are able to heal, you can continue trading positively. Next one I have is Captain Rex. It kind of, again, really depends on your clone trooper support if you got a lot of coordinate stuff. At the very worst, if you have nothing to play, at least he gives you a 2/2 for 2. You don't want to do it much, but at the very least, he can add on units, so you don't have a super dead hand. But yeah, it's a lot of just trooper synergy with him.
and if you get the cards that boost the troopers and give them the +1s and different things like that, then he becomes a lot better. Because then your 2/2 becomes a 3/3 and that type of stuff. And
But he is also only a 2/6 for 5.
yes,
Like, he'll stick around, but yeah, he's not outputting a ton of damage. Up next, I have Pre-Vizsla. I'm not sure how relevant his leader side will be. Again, if you draw cards, like there's a couple cards in this set that allow you to draw more. Sure, it's nice, but also he's a 4/6 for 5 leader. And if you happen to, I don't know, have 6 cards in your hand, now he's a 6/6 for 5. Or, if you got 3, he's got Saboteur. It's just mostly just based off his um his leader side itself. And actually I think Red Villainy package is pretty good in this set as well. So that lends that to being pretty good.
yeah,
I got Anakin Skywalker. I like Anakin a lot. He trades up. He's a very, very strong mid-range leader, I would assume. Just being able to trade up all your units. And when he comes out, it gets really scary. He's a 4/7 overwhelm, but you get +1 for every 5 damage on your base. So you could be probably most likely a 6 or a 7, which can be very impactful. But you do damage your own base, and that's probably not the greatest in a limited format if you have no way of
healing.
reducing that. Yeah, because you're not. Up next, I have Mace Windu. Clearing off damaged units is actually pretty big in limited. So you can actually, trade-ish, pseudo trade with him by doing that. And then a 5/8 body for 7 is Vader stats. And that's not bad. I think Red is actually just really good in this set, regardless of his villain or hero. So I think you can do damage with him. You can make his ability somewhat relevant. Like Grenade Strike's a common. Like you'll probably have 1 or 2.
Or 3 or 4.
Yeah, so you can get damage out there in the field for him. And the last one I have, and they're probably good or might be good, is Quinlan Voss. It's hard to probably match your opponent's stuff. But you both have a limited pool. There's only so many cards, right? I think his leader side lends it to being actually pretty decent. 3/7 for 5 isn't the best, but doing 1 damage to an enemy unit that costs the same or less is huge when you play units. So I think, again, just kind of trading favorably with him. And I think Yellow Hero is actually a pretty solid pool as well, between like Plo Koon and R2D2 clear the field. Those are some pretty standout cards that I think could be pretty legitimate with them.
Yeah, I think with okay, so I'm a little bit more high on Quinlan probably than you are, even in limited, and I think I agree with you that it is harder to match. But if we go through the card pool sets, right? A lot of the card pool sets are creating, units that are 1 cost, 2 costs, that type of a thing. There a lot of the costing units are very similar around there based on what your commons and uncommons are, and I think he's going to do a lot better than we think he is. I will tell you, if I get enough hero cards, I will 100% be building Quinlan Voss and Sealed. So I think it's really good, personally.
I think he's actually really solid and constructed for sure. I'm just a little bit iffy on like trying to go for the perfect matchup plays, I guess I would say, in
Yeah.
limited.
But him coming out on 5 with 7 health, with no like leader removal in this set as much as like we had in last set, feels really good with him. And that's, I think, where some of the differences is like, yeah, he only has 3 attack. Yes, you're right. We got some upgrades though, baby, and he is a force unit, so he has a little bit more viability. I think. I don't know. I'm very high on Quinlan personally.
No, I agree. Also, like playing like Plo Koon, and also having Quinlan Voss out at the same time is that extra reach. You can one shot a Kai Edimundi with Plo Koon,
Mm-hmm.
just running in there. Like just anything with 7 health when he's out and a Plo Koon dies, and that's a huge chunk of the board. That's you can kill Gore with that, which is hilarious to me. Well, you won't get the extra damage, so maybe not, but whatever. Anything that 5 or less is pretty hit. Like I like Quinlan. I'm pretty high on him. I probably should have put an asterisk next to him. It really depends on what card pool you have.
Yeah.
So,
So
up
for
next,
the
I'll go
go
on.
ahead. I was gonna say, yeah. So for me, I think the big one is understanding that like how your card pool works with your leaders, right? And I think that if you have like Quinlan is the essential JJ character, ironically enough, because you can build in sealed weird style decks with different costing mechanisms and not have to worry about it as much as like you do in like a unlimited format. But I have to play it just for JJ. So just like I have to play it so I can put a one-ofs of all these crazy cards in, and then I can take a picture of it, be like, look, JJ, I won something with all these one-ofs, baby.
Fair. For the last ones for just leaders, I have probably not good in sealed. Padme, I think, is already not a particularly strong leader. And just like it's cool drawing cards and filtering your deck is very strong. Requiring that you have a coordinate for that in a sealed environment does not seem good, even if she has the restore 1 on her leader side. I don't think there's much there. I don't think anyone will disagree with me on that either.
No, I don't think she's gonna, unless you have a bunch of things that create clone troopers. I think you're kind of out of luck with her in
Yeah.
sealed.
Up next, I have Asajj. Just mostly it's her leader side's a 3/4. Cool, you get an extra attack to make it a 4/4 with the shoot first effect. Yeah, she comes out on 4, which is nice, but like I don't think there's enough just like quality there with her. Like you have to play an event, so that's already kind of iffy and sealed. And then all you do is then hit 1 extra. Again, trading's really good. Trading up is very valuable, but also you play an event and then your opponent can just be like, okay, well, I killed this guy now, and you don't have the attacker who gets +1 and I still live.
Your events are limited anyway in a
Yeah.
smaller cool card pool. So I just don't. I agree. I don't think she.
Yeah,
I
not
don't know.
unlimited. I'm a little bit iffy on her and constructed anyways, but limited, I just like it's wonky.
Mhm.
Up next, slightly controversial maybe. I have Django. Mostly because I don't think there's a lot of units that deal damage to other units in this. Um, that's like meaningful. I think in constructed he's a lot better. But like the 3/7 body is just weird too. You're not like outputting a lot of damage with that. Yeah, you get to exhaust things, and that can be pretty annoying. But like, what units are you using to deal damage? Or like, what are you doing from other things to deal damage to someone? Right? There's not a lot intrinsically here, at least that I can remember. Like,
There's not. There is some stuff that has overwhelm that can work a little bit, and but the problem is yeah, like for the most part, if you can get two units out in sealed, right, and one of them can trade, you can exhaust another one, and that can be kind of like disgusting. But at the exact same time, like all they're going to do is claim the initiative, and then they're going to be able to swing again. So like it's you have to clear the board, and then you're not actually using his ability as much, and he comes out like a little bit worse off than Boba Fett does. He does have 7 health, right? So like that is cool that he has 7 health, but
he sticks around, but that's about it.
yeah, it's not as like again. I don't think like because I think it's sealed. You play a few smaller units, but you want your bombs. Like that's one of the big thing is you want these big like you. I won't say gore, but like something like a gore or a Zillow beast or something like some of these crazy like here. Let me put something on the board that's going to make you scared of me. I just the sealed one I played in. I pulled 2 wreckers. You pull 2 wreckers. I mean, like it's pretty good. Like your odds are high that you're going to be able to play it. And then on top of it, Wrecker is just like really, really good in a sealed format. And I got 2 of them. So it's like I had to build a hero, even though I didn't want to. I had to build a hero one because I had 2 Wreckers because they're just so good for the format. And I think that's where Django like you're not gonna have people aren't gonna have enough units on the field for you to do this too, unless somebody's able to spawn 1,000,000 droids. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So
And even then, you still have to have cards that exhaust them, and
yeah,
there's a pretty limited pool.
yes.
And then the last one um, is Chancellor Palpatine. Yes, he has the most options out of anyone to build a deck around, but you're gonna tell me you're gonna sit down and then like build a highly optimized Chancellor Palpatine deck in half an hour while you're building your sealed deck? Um, I mean, maybe. Good luck. I just think a lot of the villain cards that you would love to have aren't nearly as impactful as it would be to just run someone else like Quinlan Voss. I think if you're gonna go yellow hero, you might as well just go Quinlan if you're really that strongly compelled to that, or something like Yoda, and then your second piece be yellow.
Mhm.
Right? Like
I,
he
I'm
has the
how about
most options.
I'll put it. Let me just put it this way: the way, in my opinion, Chancellor Palpatine will work is if you're very, very, very good at building decks, he can be in the green section, but you have to be very good at building decks to get that to happen. I am not good enough, in my opinion, in a sealed tournament to build a Palpatine deck.
I don't think he'd be good even if you're really good at building decks. You need consistency for a Chancellor Palpatine deck, and you're not going to get that in a limited card pool. Like, if you have, you know, 7, 8 villain cards in your deck, you better make sure those villain cards are actually worth you playing him over
Yeah.
someone else, and they're probably not going to be, and generally they're going to be one-offs.
Yeah. And you get a lot more neutral cards in sealed than you do in, or I guess I won't say neutral. I will say non-heroic, non-villain
Yeah.
color coded cards. You're going to get a lot more of those than you do in the other ones. Let's move on. Let's not spend any more time on.
Yeah, no, I mean that's all the leaders.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Chancellor Palpatine and Sealed.
No.
So we're just
So I
gonna
think
hit up. Oh, go on.
I was gonna say I think this one's easy. The legendaries are easy. You're gonna get one of them, maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll
if
get
you're lucky.
two. If
Ooh.
you get two, congratulations, I guess. I think the answer is if you get one and you have the cards around it, you just play that. You play that card. You like that's the cards you play in Seal.
Yeah, so these are like just very impactful legendaries. Like that's their whole purpose. These are probably good. I got Grievous. You got 4/4 for 3. Ability irrelevant. He's a 4/4 for 3, and that's really strong. I think Kai Mundi is really good. because he's just a very well statted unit because he's a 5/7 for 5, right? With the upside of if your opponent plays 2 cards and you have 3 dudes out there, you just draw. That's just incredibly strong. You got Ayla Sakura. I have her in here mostly because she's a 6/5, and if you have a bunch of people out, she just doesn't take damage back, and that's huge in limited. But also, 6 attack on 5 bodies, also huge, especially in limited, because that's like Poe, right? Like that's Poe and Anakin levels, and you don't get Anakin here because he's in the starter packs. So, Maul, I think, is solid just because he is able to clear out more bodies, especially if your opponent has a bunch of like droid units or whatever. He can just take out 2 of them. But he's just a 5/6 for 5. Again, just pretty strong and well statted. And then Cad Bane, mostly because he's a tempo monster and he's also a 7/7 for 7.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna come out, steal whatever units you have on the board, right? And then you could get him back, but it takes what 3 turns unless I'm readying him somehow.
Right,
Like,
and you draw cards from that, so that's huge.
yeah, like
So I would play those legendaries for sure. The might be good ones. Satine, I don't know what you're trying to do. Trying to mill someone out in limited format is hilarious to me. But if you can, it's a bonus. You only got 30 cards in your deck, right? So you actually have a much higher opportunity of milling someone out without having a specifically milled deck. I have Clone. Clone is super situational, but it can also copy your opponent's units. So if they dropped a bomb, you can clone it. Or clone one of your best units, right? Up next is the Resolute. It's a little bit between, like, this might be good and this might be bad. But it is it is an 8/8 in space. Yes, it technically sort of costs 10, but at that point it costs 1 less for every 5 damage on your base, so it's probably going to cost like 7 or so, possibly 6. And then when playing on attack, just 2 damage to every enemy unit that shares the same name, so it just wipes out clone troopers and all that kind of stuff. So I think it could be marginally impactful. And the last legendary that I think might be good is Ahsoka, mostly because it's a 3/4 body for 3 that you can pop back up and put back down. The ambush happens occasionally if you have less cards than they do. I just think it's okay. It's not bad. For the bad ones, oh my god. Okay, the invasion of Christophsis.
the invasion of the
Absolutely not.
Christophers.
Yeah, absolutely not. What are you doing? Don't play that.
No, play it. Do it. Prove Alex wrong.
Okay. So most of the legendaries are actually like double aspect because those are not something you generally want to build in sealed. So like that's why like get Pyrrhic Assault on here, which is probably not going to do much.
Gonna do nothing.
Yeah. So, don't play that because that's not a board clear. Gore is probably halfway between like probably bad and probably okay. I guess it kind of depends if you have like an exploit deck. He is sort of a bomb at best.
Yeah.
Up next, you got unlimited power. Oh god, don't pay 8 for that, especially if your opponent doesn't have 4 units out. I think planetary invasion is also just not something you want. There's the 12 drop exploit 3 ready 3 units. They get +1 in overwhelm. Not worth it. Chancellor Palpatine is double yellow ready your tokens. No. And I have now there are 2 of them in here. I could probably asterisk that it just requires a lot of very specific deck building that you're trying to build around. And if you don't have it by like turn 2 or 3, there's kind of not a lot of value in it. It is like You're My Only Hope, where you pay 3 and you reduce the cost by 5, so you're reducing the cost ultimately by 2. And again, it's just very specific deck building requirements. There are a lot of force units and troopers and stuff, so you can play it, but like I don't I wouldn't go out of my way to specifically put that in a deck unless I had a lot of really good synergy, and that's kind of hard to pull in limited pool.
Yeah. Let's move on to the rares. We have a lot of bad ones in there. I'm going to just lead off by saying all rare bases are bad, except for I will disagree with you on the one that spawns 2 battle droids. If I get Ahsoka and I can build an Ahsoka, I'm playing that with Ahsoka.
But you're also sacrificing 6 health for that.
I've been playing it currently right now. I've been playing it and doing very well with it.
But you're not in a limited format at that point.
That's true. I'm just saying.
That's the problem. That it's fine. Like, I think that one's not too bad. I actually kind of like the yellow one as well, the Petronaki Arena. I think that has some value there as well. But not unlimited. Just they aren't. Maybe if you have Maul or Anakin, you can play Petronaki just because they have Overwhelm and you can push them off the 7 damage or whatever. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to go like in depth with these. These are just rares that I think would, you should probably look out for. Like Malevolence, Lumi, Zillow Beast for sure. Poggle, I think, is great. Kalani, Admiral Yularen, Huyang, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you pronounce it. I always want to go Yang, but that.
It's Huyang.
Yeah, he seems. Man, if you have a Sentinel, you play Huyang. Have fun. I think General's Blade, just +3/+3. Bo-Katan, Dooku, Jyn Erso, Saw Gerrera, Kit Fisto. Caught in the Crossfire, I think, is sneaky good because you probably just 2-for-1 your opponent. And that's huge in limited, where they just kill 2 of their own guys. And that's a massive tempo swing, even if it costs 6. Rush Clovis, Enfys Nest, and the Tranquility, I think, are all just pretty solid rares. That might be good. You got Morgan and Elsbeth. Mostly it's the restore on that. I think For the Republic is solid, but if you have a lot of quality like Republic cards and stuff like that, it's really good. So that's a little asterisk there. I think Roger is okay. I have the High Ground is okay.
I have the High Ground, Anakin.
Yeah. Mass Amida, that's a little bit. You pay the aspect penalty for him, right? Because he's a double green. But also, when you play units, you dig, and that's really good in limited. Clone Wars, Mace Windu's lightsaber, mostly because it's just a 2/2. Unnatural Life might be kind of interesting. Sabine, Slimore, 5s. I know you love 5s, but man, you need clones for that. Shadowed Intentions might just be really hard to out. I probably should have asterisked that as well. And the Invisible Hand is okay. Everything else, man, I don't like. A Fine Edition's not going to come up. Barris is just a 1/1. Like, what do you? It's a 1/1. Sure, it has Force, but you don't have the cards that have the Force limited. Finn is just absolutely terrible.
Finn's just a garbage card, I think, all the way around.
I know, it's so tragic.
But I will tell you, I'm going to be playing Mr. Bones. Like, if I get a Mr. Bones is going in my deck if I'm playing red. I don't care. I'm going to play him because it's Mr. Bones.
Sure. Equalize might actually be kind of worth it. You get -2/-2, but you have to pay the extra aspect penalty for it. Foresight, honestly, because it gives you +2 health is the only reason why I'm just like, okay, it's okay. You're probably not going to guess the top card, but the +2 health ain't bad. Consolidation of Power, the Petition the Senate in defense of Camino, Corner the Prey. Stella Guerrera, I think might not be great in limited, but pretty solid in constructed. It really depends on how many of those particular sets of cards she has. I know there's Mr. Bones right there.
Yeah, so I'm going to play it.
I'll play it off.
I'm going to play it off aspect, and I'm going to play it. So even if I'm not running red, I'm going to play it. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll just pay 5 for it.
Yep, I'm going to. Yep, I will.
Guerrilla Insurgency, I don't even know why they made that card. let alone it being good. And here, Sam Hill is just super niche. If you have a lot of exploits, sure, but it's limited, so good luck. Aid from the Innocent, Impropriety Among Thieves, Unmasking the Conspiracy, Execute Order 66, and I don't think Brain Invaders will be good either in this. Like, there's no point to blank your own ability to blank theirs. You can't build a deck around that. It's limited. And then there's our uncommon and common cards. Oh god, I really don't want to go through these.
We're not gonna read through all of them. I think the highlight, if you look at what a lot of these are doing, like Calculating Magna Guard's got Sentinel, right? Like, and it can give Sentinel more than once. That's why it's good. Captain Typhoon is kind of the same way. Like, it benefits from that Sentinel generation. Confederate Tri-Fighter stops people's bases from being healed, so that's really good. Except for we're probably not going to see 1,000,000 pounds of healing, but there is healing in certain leaders, right? So
but it's also a 3/3 for 3 in space, and that's well statted.
Yeah. Heavy is really good. Zero the Hutt. I think if you take Zero the Hutt and R2D2, I think those are like actually one of the top ones for that you should be looking out for. If you're playing those colors, R2D2 just lets you dig turn 1. Like, I mean, that's just good all the way around. Period.
Yeah. I think Clear the Field is actually really good too. Yellow hero card. Like, you literally clear their entire field of droids or troopers, right? Like, you just name a card and then just they're all gone now. Weird.
We're not going to go through the rest of them. I have the guide up for you so you could see it. Kind of same way with the commons. Like, again, a lot of these, like, the idea here is for you to go through what we put together and say, hey, you could print these out too if you want. Like, if you guys don't like the one format in the Excel document, I can give you this document. We can do whatever people want. But you can print these out and take them with you. I mean, I don't think that's like not allowed. So, like, go ahead and do it. Print them out. They look cool. I try to color code them.
See, I noticed in this uncommon tier, there's missing one card though that I separated on a separate tier called the Jar Jar Binks tier. And Jar Jar Binks tier is actually worse than the probably bad tier. Yeah, so bad that in fact it becomes good.
I actually want to just ban that card outright from playing anybody in Sealed. Have they even clarified how that card works yet?
Just figure it out, man.
Like, how are we going to randomize this? So, like, if they don't come up with a way to tell me how to randomize this, I'm literally going to just give a number to everything and roll a freaking dice for it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, it hits your base too. Like, it could hit your base as well and your opponents. So you have to factor bases in. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So
again, I really want one of these days. Jar Jar Binks is a terrible card. Terrible card, but man, do I want to like accidentally lose because I played Jar Jar Binks and then I attacked with Jar Jar Binks and then he hit my own base. Ooh, you can tie. No, on attack happens first, so you can actually lose, and your opponent has like
immediately
two health on their base. You lose because he hit yours first. That'd be incredible. I want that. That's the kind of chaos I live for.
So just kind of as a closing note, like I said, you can come back to our document. You can use the document all you want for pre-release. The big thing here is like understanding what your sentinels are, right? Where they come in, understanding what the big cards are, what is going to come in and be like super impactful. And what's going to be just kind of like, again, Grievous, for example, if Grievous had been a common or an uncommon or something that he would just be so good. Not because he could carry lightsabers, but because he's a 3 cost 4/4. Just that comes in and just says middle finger to you, and then all of that. So I think as we kind of go through this, like, that's kind of what I wanted to get across is here's what we feel are kind of the cards to look out for. This is kind of how you build your deck around. You want to have, if you have a 30 card deck, you want 20 of the green. And then if you can get 10 of the yellow, great. If you can't get 10 of the yellow, then, I guess substitute in a few red. I actually have been running 40 card ones just for the hell of it to see if it does anything. And like, it doesn't like affect it. If you don't have enough like commonality in your cards, it's like playing a JJ deck. So that's kind of what it's like. And so that's kind of how like I play Sealed. Like, I add a few extra cards in and call it a day and like say, hey,
It must be very thrilling to just never know what the next card is going to be on your deck. Just be
Yeah.
like, oh, it could be good, it could be trash. We'll never know.
One of these days, we'll be able to build a complete. There will be a leader that benefits us for doing that. That's what'll happen. All right. Well, that was our pre-release sealed discussion. I will clip that part of it and release it as a separate video for everybody as well in the next coming days. The next thing I wanted to do tonight is I know we have all these unreleased cards that like got released this week, and I'm gonna save that. I want to do way too early leader rankings, and I want to do that because I'm selfish and I really like leader ranking stuff, and I think that that's just like how else do you get that across to people, right? And so like this is where Alex and I get to argue for like 45 minutes, and that's what usually happens. Though we are both control players mainly, though you've been branching out a little bit to that aggro. I'm
I
super
play
sold on that.
everything, which is really funny that like I'm known as like Palpatine in like a lot of ability and stuff, and then like 2 showdown wins were with hero decks.
So what I wanted to do for tonight is I wanted to do our way too early set rankings for the leaders. And I only say this because you're going to be going to play in your locals and you should play what you like, right? Like that's what you should be doing. Play the decks you like, play the cards you like. Don't go, Tanner said we should only be playing this. No. But I think the idea is as you are working towards building something that is going to become in the future like a deck that you're going to take to a PQ or a store showdown or something like that. This is kind of how we feel this is where you start that deck construction. So I have our fancy little create a single use tier list up from Tier Maker. Kind of like this a lot. I do have 2 previs lists, so just ignore that because I don't know how to delete it out of there. Just so you know. But I thought we would kick this off, and this is kind of I throw showcases in there. I've been doing that quite a bit lately. But I think we're going to kick this off because what I want to do is I want to grab Jango Fett, and we're going to talk about Jango Fett, I think, first, because he is going to be the easiest one and can be a good palate cleanser, is what we'll call it. Maybe he'll be the new Boba. Maybe he won't. Alex, where do you think Jango Fett fits?
Probably about a C tier, honestly.
C tier? Oh my.
Yep. Yeah, you chose one that's gonna be like we're not even close on, apparently.
Nope.
I mean, again, exhausting units is fine and all. I just don't think he's particularly that strong. 3/7 for 5 is okay. Exhausting things is fine. I don't see exactly a path of like what do you red and put on some. You're gonna make a red force deck and have like fallen lightsabers, or like a red Mando deck and have like the flamethrower and stuff, and mass exhaust, and hope the opponent doesn't just kill whatever's doing that.
They can, and the difference is they're killing that versus going to your base. You're saving base health. I'm gonna put him in B tier. I would put him on the low end of A. Personally, I think that he is going to be a menace, but
Really?
I do think that because I think exhaust. It's especially if you look at you using it as more of a control style and then being able to win in the end game, that's where I think he succeeds. I think he's really good in the fact that you are going to be able to control things. And like they could do board wipes, but you don't care because you're there to control what they're putting down. And if we look at cunning, for example, that's a very impactful, powerful card. This is giving us like a cunning ability to begin with. And like, so this, I think it will still lose to like heavy control, but I think this is a great tempo suck against a lot of any of the aggro decks that we're going to see. So I guess I'll concede with the B tier, and then we'll see as we go through here whether he sits in the high B tier.
I don't even know what your end game pieces are going to be if you're trying to stall out the game that long. Like, There's not much in yellow that's like an end game thing, so it'd be whatever color you hook them up with. And with red, it's like, cool, you got crate dragons. You just gotta, I don't know, get there. Like I don't see why you're so high on him, honestly.
Yeah, I'm very high on Django. I feel we've had some good success with them, but we will see.
If the fire spray comes in ready, I guess, at the very least.
All right, so why don't we pick a leader now that we both probably agree on, and we'll pick Padme as S tier. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put Padme, that's probably the worst leader in this set. I would say I'd put her a D.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything positive with her.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't know if I say she's the worst leader of the set, but I will definitely say that she's down there at the bottom. I have not enjoyed building decks around her. We'll put it that way.
Her ability, it's the coordinate. Like you want to go wide, but you're not like an aggro leader. And then you have like dig. It just doesn't. I'm curious who you think would be worse than her, honestly.
Worse than her?
Yeah, in this set, she just seems pretty lame to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she is my worst one. I don't know. I don't really like Pre-Vizsla, so there you go.
Sure. Well, you can go ahead and choose one here.
All right, so we will pick. Why don't we pick Mace Windu is next? So Mace Windu is the one that does some board clearing. He is kind of the Vader-esque of the heroes, I would say. Personally, I think he comes in on the high C side. I do think there is some stuff that you can do with him. I just don't know if I'm sold that he's that good that I'm going to want to play him over some of the other hero leaders that we see, or have seen.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. I can't really add anything else to that. He's not bad, like at all. I just don't think he's particularly incredible, which I think just fits into a C tier, kind of by definition.
Kind of like Bo, right? Like that's kind of how I really wanted Bo to be good. I thought we'd have enough Mandalorians, and she just kind of like fizzled out. She just fizzles out for me. I think that's what I think he's gonna kind of fizzle. All right, who's the next one? That was an easy one. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, like, ooh, what do I want to do? Let's go with you know what? Let's just go. Let's just start at the top, I guess. Let's go with Nalase. I think there's enough impactful clones to make her deck useful. I don't think you build a clone deck with her. I think it's more like you splash in some wreckers and a little bit of tech, possibly some like echoes, because you can have like 4 echoes and they kind of work together. So I think she's like a high B, maybe at the very tail end of an A. I haven't. That's a little bit iffy to say that already. But man, just ECLing out a wrecker in Blue Villainy is just rough.
So dirty.
Yeah. Again, it's like I don't think you just dump a whole bunch of clones in her deck. I think you just build it kind of like a Blue Villainy deck, and then you splash in some really good cards.
Yeah. And I'm in the same boat as you. I have actually built an all clone deck and then just built a green villainy deck, and both of them I've had good success with in testing. I think I can't say that she's going to be A tier, but I would say she's very close to it. I haven't done enough testing, in my opinion, to say she's A tier yet. But she like, I mean, yeah, the wrecker thing is so good. Like, holy crap. And you get 5s, and you don't have to like worry about playing green if you don't want to. So like if you don't want the ECL and you want to go like a different style of build, I won't lie and say I've pretty much only done a blue green build with her.
ECL is just so nice, even like with heavy, right? Like you can just ECL with heavy, and that's just really strong. He just hits for 6, and then dies and does 1 damage to everything.
Yep. It's just she's able to control the board with units. That's how I feel it.
Yeah.
And like there is some like token generation stuff that work like decently well with her. Like you if it's a clone card, you know, like it fits. And so I don't know, I think there's enough clone synergy that you can build her decently well. And because again, you're opening your card pool up again, right? There is 25 or something like that clone cards that can be used in total. And she's like some of them you're just never gonna get. Um the tech is good too though, by the way. That's dirty.
Yeah. I mean,
Dirty.
you're putting tack into a blue villainy. People did that regardless. She might have the potential to be like an A tier if they find a bunch of really good card combos. Again, it's just I think people might be a little bit focusing way too much on the clone aspect of it, and not like, no, this is just a blue villainy leader that also has access to Wrecker and tech.
Yeah. She works really well against Sabine, or is not Sabine, Satine, by the way. Just as an FYI, they play Satine, you don't kill Satine, and you can mill 4 cards off their deck and say, screw you, I want to mill 2.
The leader side herself, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yep. It's just
like, she's not doing much else.
like, okay, you want to kill her? Okay, whatever. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
The next one, I'm going to be a little controversial. I think I'm going to pick Ahsoka. I put Ahsoka in the A tier. I think there's a lot with Ahsoka. I think that she has very good synergy. It's so much easier to create token units than originally I thought it was going to be. I think we were originally maybe not down on token creation, but it wasn't like our, I don't know. We didn't feel.
We literally used the phrase, man, it really depends on how much token generation is in this set, because it does.
And there is more than I originally thought there was going to be. And I think that she pairs very well. There's some really good cards she pairs really well with. And I hate saying this because like we haven't had like a leader be top tier that's come out of the starter packs outside of maybe like a Vader was really good in set 1. Like Vader was really, really good in set 1. Luke was pretty good in set 1. But we're kind of seeing those leaders fall off a little bit set 2. I think when we pull some of the cards, they are built very generously built for Ahsoka. And I only say this, and I guess I won't want to spend a whole hour discussing why I really like her as a leader. But I think that when we look at what was really good in the Sabine decks, you know, like that ambush, that you know, I got a wing leader, I can like hit you for things, the surprise strikes that we've seen be really, really impactful. If you have the tokens and the ability to do that, she has some of that stuff. And so it's the action cheaty piece that I think makes her good.
I wouldn't give her an A tier. I think she's solid, like at least a mid B to high B. I think she's a really solid aggro leader. But also like if your opponent's just really good at controlling, you know, you don't get the coordinate off, it's a little bit dead, especially if your whole deck's built around coordinate. But I think she's solid for sure. Again, I'm not sure if I would put any of these leaders in S tier. So maybe like the really high leaders are just A tier for me. So maybe my skill's slightly off, but I think she's just a solid B.
You think she's better than Nala Say? How about that? That's the question I would ask.
Ooh, I don't think she's better than Nala Say, but I definitely think she's better than Django. Hey, you have her ranked higher than Django too, right?
I do. Yeah. Yes. 100%. Yeah. No, I actually think she's probably better than Alice, except for Blue Green Villain is just so good. That's a problem. Like that's a bigger problem. Blue Green Villain is just good. She's 100% better than Django in my opinion. I think there's some things that Django will discover later, but like out of the box, Ahsoka just is an easy pickup, and she competes with Sabine's pretty easily, I think.
Let's see if we can get a controversial one with Asajj. For me, Asajj is like a C tier. Again, it's mostly you have to play an event beforehand, and like a lot of the times I'd much rather deal with a board threat immediately. then play an event and then deal with it later, especially when the payoff is +1 attack. Her leader side is fine, but I mean, it's not like she dies to open fire argument is like a fantastic argument, but she does die to open fire.
She dies to a lot of stuff.
She dies to a lot of things. 4 attack is not hard to come by when you hit 4 resources. I think just you can't deploy her if they have like an echo based defender, right? Like what are you supposed to do? If you're getting stonewalled by that, like it's rough.
So we probably aren't controversial. Maybe the controversial thing is to me she's almost a D tier. I feel she's definitely on the low end of C. And I only say this, I hate saying this because like I really wanted her to be good, but you're right. Like if an opponent's playing against you and you have to play an event to get her ability and stuff like that off, they can swing in and then play their event to kill your unit. And this is like the Kylo loss, right? The Kylo issue is where you had to discard the card to give the +2. That actually is not really like, it's only impactful if you're in an area they don't have, on an arena they don't have units. Otherwise, you could play around that. And I'm not saying Kylo's not good, right? I think the Kylo discard a card to do the damage is better than this Asajj is. How about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put her in D just because I think yellow villainy is just in a good spot. Especially like it's not a disadvantage really that you have to play events because yellow's got some very, very, very strong events. So it's not like it's a negative that it's like, damn, now I have to play triple dark raid first instead of swinging in with a unit first. But at that point, why are you playing Asajj? Just play like Boba or something, just a better villainy leader kind of thing like that. So she might have some potential for some aggro, kind of like how Kylo did. So there might be something there, which is why I don't want to put her in absolute garbage D tier.
All right, that's fair. And I don't know. I just
I don't know. To me, like S tier is like really hard to achieve, and D tier is like literally unplayable. Like, what are you doing? So I think that's my thoughts on Asajj. What leader do you want to talk about?
So I'm gonna pick Yoda, and I'm gonna put Yoda in A tier, and I think that's because because we now have 3 sets of card pools. Yoda being able to tutor your deck. Yoda has actually kind of made that "You're My Only Hope" card like playable now. Like that card was like kind of okay and mostly trash. Like it just
wasn't trash. It just wasn't worth the risk.
Yeah, like if you could,
how decks were constructed.
Sure, if you could get your R2D2 off first, right, and then you know what you have, then great. It's a great card, but the combo is so crazy. Yoda's got a built-in one, and you could keep a card in your hand, put it on the top of your deck, and then play "You're My Only Hope." I literally played like 2 Lukes in a row. I literally just had 2 Lukes in my hand and that card, and then just like use Yoda, turned around, put that card, played a Luke. Oh, yep, you killed something, died. Guess what? Now Luke's going to do -6. It's a middle thinker. I personally think Yoda is very, very good. I would like him to be a mill leader because that's what I would like to just play as like hero mill for the rest. I would like to play that till Worlds. That's what I would like to play, but I don't think that's going to be possible. But I don't know. I think Yoda's really strong. The ability to look at cards, rotate cards around, the ability like. Again, this is probably a little bit conditional, but when I had a Luke and that, "You're My Only Hope," right? And being able to put the Luke on top, flip Yoda, show the Luke, kill something of measure, turn around, and then play the other card is just crazy. Like, it's just silly, some of the stuff you can do with Yoda.
Yoda would be the kind of only one I would consider putting in S tier, but I wouldn't want to say that like S tier because I don't think he's like busted. I think he's incredibly strong. I think he's probably the best leader from the set so far. Maybe time will tell on that. But I also have a similar Yoda story to you. I was just testing out like a mono blue Yoda because that seemed really easy to build. I swung with R2D2, saw that I had a Luke on top of my deck, and this was at 7 resources the flip turn. Played You're My Only Hope. Played Luke for 5. Killed something. Activated Yoda. Put Kai-Adi-Mundi on top of my deck. Flipped out Yoda. Discarded Kai-Adi-Mundi. Killed their Zuckuss because it cost 5. And then played like a Queel afterwards because I still had 2 resources. And then swung in with all my guys. Like all of that just different meddling with what you got is just really, really strong. But also, at the very worst, like drawing a card and putting your garbage card back on top or the bottom of the deck is just really good. You're literally just drawing a card.
Yeah.
And they just have to leave play too. And sometimes if you're going against, like you can just kill one of their units and trigger Yoda, right? You don't have to have one of your units die. They just have to leave. You can get one of your guys waylaid and then trigger Yoda, which is so fun. And I think Blue Heroes still incredibly strong. You know, we saw the Ray decks do really, really well recently, right? And that's Red Han. They play a lot of blue hero cards that are really strong, like Luke and Obi and all that. And you still get that same card pool with Yoda. So seems very good to me. Well, you said you hated PreVizsla, so let's see why. Let's choose PreVizsla. To me, he seems solidly in C tier. Maybe like C. I'd put him higher than Mace Windu. Again, he's a very well-statted leader, being out of 4/6 for 5. And there's actually a fair amount of ways to draw cards. It's not just like play mission briefing, draw 2 cards. A lot of it's like, hey, play commission, right? Like you like commission, where it's like, cool, I'm going to filter something, and then that's still drawing a card. You know, Remnant Reserves, if you want to play Remnant Reserve, you draw 3 off Remnant Reserves if they're all units. So that counts for drawing cards, not just like, hey, I drew, I played Force Choke or something. They played Force Choke on me, and now I draw a card. So there's a lot of synergy there. I haven't looked too much into building around PreVizsla, but I think there's potential. Which is why I'm putting on like a higher C. I don't think he's incredible, because like you're still red villainy is kind of is good. It's just he's probably not the leader you want for that. But I like him. Worst comes to worst, he's a Mandalorian. You can throw a Darksaber on him.
Fair enough. So I think for me, I don't know. Like for me, the only benefit to him is he's a 5 cost 4/6, which I think is really, really good. Like
with Saboteur, probably at that point, honestly, you should have 3 cards in your hand at turn 5 or turn 4.
Yeah, I just think there's there is card hate in this set. There is, and I think my biggest issue with him is you have to pay a resource to do the damage, right? So like his non-leader side just feels ridiculously dumb. Like I guess I play mission briefing and I could draw 2 cards, or what's that other 5 cost where I could draw 3 cards, and now I can do it's like kind of like it, but you still have to pay a resource. So like,
his leader ability seems actually a lot more geared towards late game stuff than it is early, which is kind of not what you want for someone dealing direct damage, because you want to kill a bunch of things.
Yeah, and like I would say, like he would be good with blue, right? Because blue could be very good. But then I just think of Grand Inquisitor, and I could play something that has grid, and I can like shield it, and I can like get overwhelmed damage with some of these other things. And I just, when I think of a red villain, I just don't like. I could play Vader for Christ's sake and feel better, I think, than PreVizsla. The only benefit is that he comes out as a 4/6 on 5 resources, and if you aren't ramping, you can't take him down. Like you can't take him down. I don't know. I don't personally see it. I also don't like the whole card draw thing. I just, it's not my thing. I do get the Saboteur. I do get the Saboteur thing, and I do get that you could, if you could figure out how to build a deck where you're drawing cards and not getting pillaged somehow. I don't know. I feel there's just so much that could just go wrong with him. I guess I will. I'll give
You
him
might,
more than Asajj, but
yeah, I think you might be a little bit too focused on the drawing guards part for damage, which is his leader ability. I get that, but I don't know. He's really well statted, and
yeah,
he has the potential to just deal out damage later in the game.
fair enough.
But yeah, like I don't know exactly where he slotted him between Asajj and Mace. I guess I can compromise for that.
Yeah,
What's your choice?
and again, I think if the Mandalorian synergy like could be good, it's just because he's red and not blue like Gar Saxon is. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know. There's the one that I will admit I could be just wrong on. How about that? I'm gonna pick Dooku next, and I put Dooku in A tier. I think Dooku's really, really good. The exploit is, um, I think the exploit is an
Huge.
underrated concept, and like I have flipped him, and then it got the 3 exploit, and just like holy crap, just like you can go from being like this mid-range type thing to just dropping bomb after bomb after bomb, and there's so much synergy. Like and play the Benevolent. You can exploit, play the Benevolent, draw 4 more, put 4 more droids down. And then, like, Merry Christmas. Now you can play something else crazy. Like, you could burn through your hand if you really want to. And then he is a 7 cost, but he has high stats for what he is. So you're not just taking him down super easy. I don't know. I'm very high on Dooku personally. I kind of like Yoda's playstyle better because of the card stuff, but Dooku's up there for me with Yoda.
I think Dooku eventually will be like A tier, but I don't think there's enough impactful separatist cards right now to just be like, oh, he's an A tier. Like I put him in like B plus. Don't get me wrong. Like I think he's really good in card cheating or like cheating on resources is always incredibly strong. But the card pool itself, I'm not sure if you like took a real deep dive into like the separatist card pool, but it's not like huge. Like they're not impactful. Like you can cheat out Kraken for 3, which is nice because you create 2 more battle droid tokens, but he's still 2/5, right? Like, uh, it's nothing with him. It is everything else around him that's causing the problems. Like there's just not a crazy separatist cards, and also I feel like because you're exploiting some of your units, if they have single card removal, Dooku just really suffers. It's like if you kill off 2 droid tokens, put on Grievous or whatever, right? That's probably a bad example. If you kill off like one droid and you just slap Grievous on there, and then they play a takedown or something, you just lost. You 2 for 1 yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets really inefficient if they have good removal and not like mass removal, just like Force Choke, right? Whatever you drop, again, going back to like Kraken, drop them for 3, creates 2 battle tokens, they Force Choke Kraken, and then you're left with 2 battle droid tokens. And played all your resources. So once we get better separatist cards or more separatist cards, I think he'll easily be an A leader. I just think he's a B leader for now. That's just mostly because I've been trying to build a deck with Dooku, and I'm just like, wow, these are fine, but the pool is kind of wonky.
I'll leave him on the lower end of 8. I disagree with you pretty heavily on that one. So, all right, you get to pick. What's next?
Let's do Quinlan Voss. I think
Okay.
he's a solid B tier leader. Maybe below Ahsoka. That's hard to call. He's like right around Ahsoka. I think with ambush units, he's incredibly good because he's one of the few leaders that is like not an action, not a resource. It's just a trigger, like Boba. It's like, hey, when you play this unit, do this. So if you go to like we were talking about earlier, like you ambush out Plo Koon, that one shots Boba, like villainy Boba,
Mm-hmm.
and that's huge.
Yep.
So I think a lot of like just cleverly building your deck like that with doesn't have to be like all ambush, but I'm saying like ambush is like huge because it's just like boom, they take the damage and then you run it in there. If you got some threes, like maybe like you have Ahsoka or something, you can ping off the shield of like a village protector and then swing in. Like just the one damage is it lets you trade up, and I'm always a fan of trading things up. Um, so I think he's pretty solid B.
Yeah, so I personally put Ahsoka in A, and I would put Quinlan on the high end of B, borderlining A, depending on the build. Because I think there's synergy there, like you said, with the ambush. I really do think there's really good synergy with ambush, like with that. And he's a 5-cost, 3/5 or 3/7 body. He
And
comes
he's a
out.
force and
He's a
Jedi.
force unit. He's a Jedi. He's got like, I don't know, like how about this? He's more fun to play than Ahsoka. That's what I will just tell you right now. I found him more fun to play than Ahsoka. But I also don't know if like the impact is there or not, right? Like the long-term impact. And I think it is personally, and I think he's kind of he's the one I would say fits into an A tier if you can figure out the build pretty quickly.
Well, the problem is just like you could build a great deck, but if your opponent just doesn't have the units that cost the same, he falters a little
Yes.
bit. But no, I think he's very solid. I think he's a little bit underrated, honestly.
Yeah.
I think people might be sleeping on just like how much that extra damage lets you trade up.
I don't know. I almost think he's better than Nalase. Like, I don't know.
I just think Nalse's potential is higher than Quinlan Boss's.
All right. I'll concede the Ahsoka, I guess, and move Ahsoka down. I don't agree with that too, but I'll concede it.
I said I think he's. I said he's the same as Ahsoka. Like I'm not sure if I'd put him above or below.
All right, we're gonna pick Maul, and we're just gonna put Maul in S tier, and we're not even having a discussion. We're gonna just move on. Do we have to have a Maul discussion? I hate having this discussion.
I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on why you think Maul's just incredible.
I don't, because I don't. I just want him to be like I don't. I think he's better than Django. There you go. He's better than Django.
I mean, I would definitely put him higher than Django.
I personally think he's just a solid B character. I think that he has potential, but I think it'll come more in some of the other sets. We have been playing around with Maul actually a lot. Like honestly, like a lot. Like that's like Maul's the one we would like to break. Like Kira was kind of like the one for last set that we were like super high on in internal testing. Maul, I don't feel as high on as I felt on Kira personally. And I'm having a harder time wanting to feel that way because I really just want Maul to be the best character. And I think that against non-control decks, he does very well. But when you run into control decks, he's struggling, in my opinion.
Yeah, he seems like a solid enough mid-range leader, kind of like how Luke is, right? Where like,
Yeah,
he's good. He's a solid B plus kind of thing. I don't think I put him all at B plus yet, but yeah, I mean, just like you build around Red Villain's pretty decent. He's a good go tall leader, right? You slap a lightsaber on him, and then he's just a menace. But yeah, again, he will fall to control pretty hard.
yeah. And it's just I don't like. I hate saying that because I just want him to be good, but I think it's sealed. He's really good, like we talked about in one of our last segments.
Yeah.
But I think when we talk about constructed, I think there's some work that needs to be done. But I don't know. There is some pretty cool yellow cards that we've been playing around to try to make an undefeatable Chirrut and stuff like that. And so like there's discussions about trying to make an undefeatable Maul as well. It just doesn't work as easy because his leader ability is not the same. But I mean, I will tell you, like if you could keep the board clear and keep units on the table, Maul will just walk over you. But I have to leave him. I still think Ahsoka's better, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree.
Which I don't want that. But let's move on.
Yeah, let's talk about Anakin. Speaking of red, so Anakin, again, I was mentioning earlier, he's a really good mid-range leader, right? Like, just you trade your units up. I really liked Moff Gideon in like the past month or so, and that one extra damage really helps out a lot. Anakin lets you hit off for 2, which is ridiculous. Granted, you are hitting your own base for 2. I think there's some solid builds with blue to restore a little bit, kind of minimize that. But I also think there's like, you just go not hard aggro, but like aggro, kind of like yellow with your surprise strikes and stuff, and really just push damage through. I'd put him at like a higher B. I think I like him more than Nala. Borderline A tier. You are giving me crazy looks here. I don't see what you don't like about this guy. What do you say?
Not A tier. I like Ahsoka better than I like Anakin. I like Nala Se better than I like Anakin. How about that?
I had him a high B tier.
Like,
I don't know. He's really good. He's a very strong mid range. Like, you just trade your units off, and then he hits the board, and he just starts swinging.
And that's fair. And I think, like, personally, I think that he fits better than like a Maul, right? I just don't know if I consider him A tier. I don't know. And maybe we're just prioritizing Nala Se too high. Maybe that's the case. Maybe we've just prioritized her too high. I don't know.
I think Anakin's better than her. You kind of make it sound like the opposite.
I don't, because I like her better. But I play again. I'm a control player too, so that's my problem. Like that again, in a controlling lens, I don't like the dealing 2 damage to your base. Like, and it's not like you get the overwhelm, right? Like, so you're not doing the 2 damage and the overwhelm. But you are right. Like, I have played your Gideon deck, and I won't lie and say that like I've had success with that Gideon deck. Whereas, like at the beginning of the set, I hated Gideon and didn't want nothing to do with him. And you are correct, like being able to control that like board, push your damage through. That's fine. I'll give high B. How about that? I'll give it over Nala Se. I'll concede there is a possibility that you can build a super aggro deck, I think, with this character more than others.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily push for the aggro because you only get the +2 when you're attacking other units, so you don't hit the base harder. But you just efficiency rating, like you can drop an R2D2, right? The original 1 cost base set R2D2 and take out pretty much every 2 drop.
And that's fair. And I guess if you think about it, I guess on the opposite side is when you get to like some of that mid tier where people are dropping 6 and 7 costs, you being able to trade into that for only 2 damage to your base is probably better than what I'm giving it credit for, because you are. All right. You convinced me. We're gonna move it to A tier.
And if your units have overwhelm like K2SO, you hit harder into their base.
Yeah, because then you can just trigger yourself, kill yourself off. And maybe it's just because I built a couple of Anakin decks and I lost my ass every time. So like maybe it's just because I'm not a good deck builder for Anakin.
Again, I'm not saying he's A tier. I think he's really strong, but like I feel like there's only a couple A tier leaders in this set, so I feel like a majority of them are going to be B, but that's roughly right? Like you kind of want your leaders to be C to B, like just from an average game. I don't know.
No, I want all A tier. All right, let's keep moving. Let's I don't know. Let's pick Grievous. I'm avoiding a specific character because you and I will definitely disagree on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pick Grievous. I give Grievous mid tier. I think Ahsoka's better than Grievous, but I think I don't know. Like Grievous is on a low B to like top C for me. I think that Grievous has a lot of potential to be better, but the problem is like the Dooku exploit feels better because it's the green blue villain. Maybe that's why it feels better than the Grievous exploit. But I don't know. Like in testing, I have found that like overwhelm and different things like that, they just don't like. Yeah, I could spawn a bunch of droids, but I can't get Grievous to work in the same way I can get other leaders to work. How about that?
Yeah, I'd put Grievous in C tier. Honestly, I'd probably rather have Pre-Vizsla. I just the Sentinel is nice. It saves you, but like your droid pool is okay, and all you're doing is giving a Sentinel out, and he doesn't. I don't think he's impact. He doesn't make things impactful enough to like have him to choose him over other yellow villainy leaders or other different colored leaders and splashing in yellow. Like, I don't know. I admittedly haven't put like a ton of effort into building out a Grievous deck. It just seems like your droids are fine. It's cool if some of them get Sentinel, but it doesn't impact the game enough to make a huge difference.
Yeah, I've just found that because he's that yellow leader, right? Like I have found that I would I want my blue, but then I find that Grievous and blue don't work very well, so it only works decently well with the green suite, and then like it just feels bad because like I don't want to be stuck in one color suite, and that's kind of what I feel with Grievous. Whereas like some of these other leaders, like Ahsoka, can range out. Maul can be multiple colors more, and I don't know. So I don't know. I'll agree. We'll just put Grievous in high C. I like him better than Pre-Vizsla. How about that? We'll do that. All right. What's the next one?
Oh, let's go with good old Captain Rex.
Okay.
I think he's probably somewhere. It's like high C or low B, right? Like you can make some solid trooper decks around him, but that's about it. Like he's very pigeonholed into doing kind of one style,
Yeah, he's like the Leia of this set. That's what he feels
right?
like.
And I mean, Leia was really good in set one. Don't get me wrong, but like she still gets passed off, and I feel like Captain Rex is fine. It's just two resources to create something just for the coordinates, and you're depending on coordinates, and if you just get wiped out or they control the like coordinates fine, but if you don't have the units, there's literally nothing there, right? So that's how I feel about him. I'd put him above Grievous, but I don't think I'd put him higher than Maul or anything.
Definitely not higher than Django. All right, we'll put him there. That's fine. I'm in mostly.
No, I agree. I would say I would take Django over Rex.
All right, our boy Watt. Where do we put Watt? Do we just throw Watt in C tier? Just kidding. So Watt allows you to kind of do similar exploit type things. Watt he's a green. He doesn't have really amazing stats. I don't know. I put him low B, I guess. I don't know. Like I think he has potential. I don't know. I don't like him more than Ahsoka, but I don't like him more than Maul because I like Maul better. But I like his style of play. I feel fits probably over Maul's. Like I think he fits in the set better, and he fits with some of the other cards that we could play. I don't know. So mid B.
I actually am pretty high on Watt. I'm probably like a B plus. I like Watt a lot. Honestly, it's just kind of like cool. One of my dudes died. Now something impactful gets +2/+2 for that turn. It's like we were just talking about with Anakin, where you can trade up with that. You can kind of do it in like different. You can almost like make it like kind of an aggro deck out there just by, throwing a unit in there. Into one of their like Sentinel units or something, and then like buffing up something strong, like, or probably more likely you exploit one of your battle droids, give something +2/+2. Now it's a pain. You could drop a Sentinel, something dies, give the Sentinel +2/+2. I like Watt a lot, honestly. I have to get around to building more decks around him, but he seems really good. And like the stats are okay. He's a 3/6, but he comes out on 5. Like you're not really, you're not. He's not there for the leader.
Yeah. The only issue I really have is it's an action. You have to take an action to get that 2/2, right? Which I
Yeah,
guess it's I guess it's fine when you have a sentinel, right? Like with sentinels, it works very well, 100%. It's just that action economy I don't like as much. Like I would rather it just be an automatic thing. Like if it was just an automatic thing, I think Watt would just be
that'd be
A
silly.
tier. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he lose slightly out on tempo, but like you're probably not going to give like your weaker unit the +2/+2. You give your stronger unit the +2/+2, and then just hit
Mhm.
harder. I like him. I like him a fair bit. I put him probably on the same tier as Quinlan Voss, honestly, for me.
I just don't know if I like him more than Ahsoka. That's fine. We'll put him next
Oh,
to
yeah.
Quinlan Vos.
Let's do New Gunray next.
All right.
Why do you laugh?
Let's do New Gunray.
Yeah, he's fun.
It's New Gunray is silly because of Destiny, but that's it.
Oh.
That's all. There's previous New Gunray
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
Well, in this one, I think he's pretty solidly like mid to low B. I think getting a little bit of a refund on exploit is really good, and a lot of blue exploit seems really strong. And it's just kind of an efficiency thing. You just always have more slaughter or fodder for your exploit units. His unit ability is not great. He's a 2/8, which is fine, but he's a 6 cost, and on attack, you create a battle droid token. It's not impactful. But I think there's a fair amount of like exploit synergy that works really well with him. But also, you kind of had that problem with Dooku, a little bit less so because you're not limited specifically to separatists, but like, cool, you sacked 3 of your units to play that giant tank thing, and then they play like a waylay, and then you just be really sad. Then you get a droid back at least this time. So, I mean, he seems like lower B. It really kind of. I'm sure there's a deck that's going to use him pretty well. I'm sure with the exploits energy and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think he's A tier or anything like that. So
I like Ahsoka better than I like him personally.
I agree.
And I kind of like Maul better than I like him.
I'd probably put them on the same tier as well. They play dramatically differently, but I'm just like, yeah, they're roughly both pretty useful. They might get hosed by particular strategies, but they're not bad leaders.
All right, let's do Obi-Wan next. Obi-Wan is the heal guy. Like you get to heal, so seems pretty good, right?
Sure. Where would you put Obi-Wan?
Honestly, again, you know me and my action economy. I feel he's low B personally.
Ooh.
But that's just
I'd
me.
put him in higher C or like mid C, honestly.
Okay. All right, fine, fair enough.
Yeah.
I will concede to that too. I like Django better than I like him. So
like healing 1 damage from a unit, as we discussed earlier, can be impactful, specifically far more in limited than it is in constructed. It's fine. His sentinel is nice. His on attack is pretty solid, especially because he can heal yourself. It's like a really tiny. Why am I blanking on that name? It binds all things. You heal 1, do 1 somewhere else. Blue hero, a lot of good force units, a lot of strong synergy with that. Healing is fine. I guess if you really want to double down on that, you do have Ray as well. I just he doesn't impact as much. Like I'd rather run Ray. I'd rather run Yoda. I'd rather run Jared almost, honestly. So it's like he's fine. Like there's nothing explicitly bad about him. He just seems costed perfectly fine.
yeah, the other thing that like I don't like him being a sentinel himself. Like the Chewbacca was good because Chewbacca has 9 health, right? So like him being a sentinel is fine because he takes damage. You get at least one big swing off usually. Like not very many people are just taking Chewbacca down in one turn. So you can do that, by the way. I've done that before. And he's like at 7. He's 7 health. So like he's not
he
going to live
can
very
heal
long
himself that one on attack because it's any
on
unit.
attack, but
yeah, you take 2 hits and then he's dead.
Yeah, he feels kind of like the Mando with this. Like you really want him to be good, but man,
yeah,
you can't get him to work.
He seems totally average.
Yeah, he'll be very fun to play. How about that? Like he'll be a fun character to play. But that's about it.
Yeah.
All right, our last one, Chancellor Palpatine. I'm sick of Palpatine in A. I don't think he's as good as Dooku or Yoda per se. How about this? I do think he's very good and could be potentially better than all of them if you know how to build the deck correctly and you know how to play it. He is a very high capacity, like for you to play. Like I don't think that you're going to be able to. The average person is not going to pick a Palpatine up with little practice and just play it. I don't think it works like that. I think he's extremely his ability is extremely strong. I don't care as much about the leader aspect. Like, yes, like Anakin's style of play is Anakin comes out and is going to hit you like insanely hard, right? Maul's going to hit you really hard. Ahsoka's going to hit you extremely hard. You know, I don't know if like not having a leader is impactful enough, though. I mean, we see like a Boba leader is very impactful, not having a Boba leader, but you have all these other things where you're creating tokens. And I think the biggest hump to overcome is just that first, how do I kill my first, hero so I can start flipping and going back and forth. And then your card pool. But you can tutor your card pool. He is yellow. So there is stuff there. I don't know. I think he's low end A, but that's just me.
I think as the game goes on, he becomes significantly stronger. I don't think he's particularly good right now. I think so for him, like you don't want a ton of villain cards, right? Like you don't want half your deck to be villainy. Like that's just not how you want to build a deck, because it's not you have way too high of a chance of just being you making suboptimal choices or suboptimal plays. I don't think the villains cards impact the game enough for me to choose him over another, like Quinlan Voss or something. Or if I'm going villainy, like I'm not gonna choose him as my leader. He also kind of suffers if your opponent understands. It's like, hey, you're on your hero side and you claimed or whatever, and I'm just not gonna kill all your hero guys and you can't flip next turn. Like there's a whole bunch. Not having a leader unit, I think, is such a massive tempo drawback that it hurts. I've played against several Chancellor Palpatine decks that some of my friends are building, and they all just sure it's difficult to build. I just don't think that anything impactful can be made out of them yet. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure someone will find something. I know a lot of people are pouring a lot of resources to try to make him work, and like he's got a good strong draw engine. Like, that's not a problem for him. I just don't think the cards that the opportunity cost to play him, I don't think it's good enough to not play another leader of that color. I understand wanting to play him, and I get it because it's super cool. You got villains and heroes, and it's a puzzle they have to put together, and your villain side sets up your hero side by giving you the clone trooper that you can just sack off. I just don't think the villain cards that you're going to put into him are super impactful. I think like blue is pretty solid with him. I think green, probably is pretty good. I just like having access to overwhelming barrage is huge, but if you're putting your generic units out there, like what are they getting? What are you getting? Overwhelming barrage like Ezra? That's 5, right? Like I don't. There's so much hype around him. I get it. I just don't think you can build an A tier deck out of him right now. So I'd probably put him in B. Like, I think he's fun. I just don't. I think the opportunity cost is way too high with him. I've got a lot of issues with him.
All right, fair enough.
I mean, every other person's put him in S tier, so you know.
Yeah,
but
I don't think
they're putting him in S tier because they're like, someone will break this. And they're just depending on someone to break it, and if no one ever breaks it, congratulations. I don't know. I just from very passionate friends who are really trying to make it work, it just doesn't seem like it fits together well. Again, given more time when you have more busted villain cards coming out, or just more options in general, I think it'll be a lot better. I'm just not sure about this set at this particular time.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I'm going to put them in high B because I get to the last A.
Sure.
So that's what I'm gonna do. I still think A, but we'll see. We'll see who takes it down with Palpatine. But he is very fun to play. I mean, and I'm not playing him with green, by the way. Like, just so you know, I have not actually built a Pulp green deck with him. What do we call him?
Call him
Palp
like
2?
Sidious. Can we call him Sidious, please?
No.
Why?
Because he's Palpatine.
It's unambiguous if we call him Sidious. There's no reason to call him Palpatine. I keep getting confused because people are like, "Oh, well, it's your Palpatine thing," and I'm like, I go off there like, no, the other one, the hero one. I'm like, just say something. Say Chancellor. Say Sidious. Like, he's got names. Also, because he's Chancellor Palpatine, he doesn't work with his own royal guards because he's not Emperor Palpatine. And that's really funny to me.
That is true. I don't know. So that is our tier ranking list. We were going to go through tonight and actually look at some of the new cards, but I think that we will table that for another night. Just for the pure fact that there is quite a few new cards, and some of them are impactful. Some of them are not impactful, and so like that's probably something that we'll cover those next week. I don't know. Like, it's not like every other podcast has probably not already done it anyway. So
we might just do like a get together on a Tuesday thing, go over real quick or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we could do that too. Like, it's not a big thing. I think there's a few things in there that is like really dote worthy for deck building. For example, Saw's Sister is definitely a noteworthy card. Like, I think in limited or in unlimited, that's like I think that card's actually really, really good.
Cat Bane's in there,
Yeah,
and we got to say things about that. We also got to figure out what JJ's tier list is, and why he's going to put Padme in S tier. I know he is.
Yeah, he probably will. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe not. I don't know. I told JJ he owes it to me. His birthday was so the reason JJ's not here is his birthday was this weekend, and so he was out celebrating with family tonight, and so we told him to have a couple of shots of tequila on us, and I'll reimburse him for it. So. With that being said, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We will be back next week, Sunday, 9 p.m. To cover more stuff, talk about our pre-release experience, what worked, what didn't work. We might even have a couple of decks for you. I don't know. Maybe I'll build a Palpatine deck that we can Palpatine 2 deck. There you go, Palp 2 deck. That I'm gonna call him Palp 2 just to drive you nuts.
Sidious is just so much easier.
No. Because he's really Palpatine. So is the other guy. The other guy's Darth Sidious too. It's no different.
Yeah, but his card name isn't Darth Sidious like this one is.
No. But maybe we'll have a couple of decks next week. I won't guarantee we'll have decks next week, but maybe we'll have a couple of decks that we could talk about. Okay, you won't have any decks, but I've been building decks for three or 4 weeks now. So maybe we'll share a few of the stuff that we have, but we'll definitely cover our pre-release experience next weekend, kind of what to look forward to, and go from there. With that being said, thank you all so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that button, subscribe, do whatever you floats your boat, but definitely share us and hopefully subscribe to our channel. And we will see you on the flippity flop.
Thanks for listening.